I would like to clear up a few misconceptions about large language models. People say they are black boxes. That's not entirely true. We have a kind of visibility into them that we would struggle to apply to humans at scale. Namely, these AI brains are made up of numbers, and we can see those numbers. We don't really understand, why certain numbers have certain values, but we can read them and then we can tune them. So if we find a representation within this big blurb of number that represents some sort of concept, you can, for example, see what happens if you amplify that concept or if you remove that concept. That's what people in the field of interpretability are doing. And I'm not going to lie, so far the field hasn't been very successful at explaining LLMs. But it definitely brings some questions that are pretty interesting. For example, this one recent study by Anthropic where they tried to figure out if the models had representations of emotions that would tend to activate in certain situations. And they found that yes, that's the case. When an AI model is put in a frustrating situation, even though it's not talking about the concept of being frustrated, the representations that correspond to the concept of frustration are active in the neural network.
And when we dialed up the activity of desperation neurons, or dialed down the activity of calm neurons, the model cheated even more. This showed us that the activation of these patterns could actually drive Claude's behavior.
And I think that's pretty insane, honestly. I mean, the conclusion is not that they have emotions. Obviously, it's something more of what Anthropic calls a functional emotion, meaning there's a phenomenon that fulfills a certain function within the neural network that we could see as analogous to emotions. The problem is that we don't necessarily understand human emotions that well either. And we know that even if AI had emotions, it would probably look very differently than for a human because they don't have senses the way we do. But beyond that, I think it's not entirely reasonable to completely and fundamentally exclude the possibility that they feel something, even if feeling something actually means something completely different for an AI.